And it's the Newsmaker. I'm Brian O'Neill, now being joined on our live line by Congressman Tom Reed. Congressman, thanks for calling in.
It's great to be with you, Brian, and I'm hoping everybody is safe and sound.
Well, Congressman Reed, starting out with COVID-19 questions, do you think that Hornell and the surrounding area will be part of the May 15th reopening at the end of the shutdown for this area? Do you see it starting on May 15th? Have you been in touch with the governor's office on that?
Well, first of all, it better. And we were part of the efforts to get the governor to back off his one-size-fits-all government, statewide shutdown order and kind of be open to this regional approach. And so we've been advocating for 3 weeks now, given the numbers, and the update on the virus should be of comfort to people of the area, of the region. We see the hospitalization rates, we see the ICU and other issues, and we've never really had that surge demand. We've had very limited hospitalization on the COVID-19 positive population. Now, we've had some situations, you're very familiar with it there in Hornell. We've been directly involved with the Hornell Garden situation and the other nursing homes in the communities, and those are true hotspots, and it shows you that you got to have a healthy respect for this virus. But I will tell you, I've talked with already Bob Duffy, Kathy Hochul, who are the two heads of the Buffalo-Rochester region appointed by the governor to reopen this region, and we've worked well over the years together, both Bob and Kathy, and we're going to anticipate, and they were more than generous when we talked, but it's time for us to work together, and it's time to get this area up and running, and we can do it. We can do it so that it's safe enough to do it, but it's going to take everybody working together. Not going to be the same that it was before, before the virus came to the shores of America and shut us down, but it's going to be a new normal that will get people back to work. And I'm sure we can get into the details of that as we go through the call, but the most important thing is that we can do this. And we outlined a plan in the Problem Solvers Caucus, that bipartisan group I head up, with a detailed analysis of what we think, and talking to the doctors and the experts, that we can do in order to keep us safe as we go through this reopening phase.
Congressman, you talked about your work with Hornell Gardens. You also helped come up with $3.4 million for St. James Hospital, and we talked about that the last time that you were on. How are things going with the small businesses and the independent contractors? Know that your office has been very involved in taking calls with people having a hard time getting their loans or getting their unemployment claims taken care of. Are you hearing less calls like that these days?
No, I wish we could report we are hearing less. We're hearing more. And that's where we're having daily calls, not only with our hospitals, like you're aware of, but also doing few hundred, sometimes max out the Zoom capability of 500 participants in regards to small businesses, the banks and the credit unions of the area, our health insurance carriers. I've been also talking to our Chamber of Commerce, our economic development groups, and I'll just tell you, through that dialogue and then the thousands of calls that are coming in, the team are handling, it is clear. The unemployment numbers are significantly high. Unemployment, talked to the governor's regional rep yesterday about how the unemployment office has to do a better job of processing these claims, that this is ridiculous, and my humble opinion, that the computer program over at the state unemployment office can't handle these applications. I understand there's a large number of them, but, people are going now 2, 4, 6 weeks without resources, without cash. And I don't know how they survive, to be perfectly blunt with you. And so what we do is we put our pressure with our local officials. Thank God we have such a great relationship with our state senators, people like Tom O'Mara, Phil Palmisano, Marjorie Burns, and Joe Giglio, and folks like that of the Hornell region, where we work together and do the best we can to get people through the system. But on the Paycheck Protection Program loan, it was good. I had an update yesterday. We turned that back on yesterday morning at 10:30, and it started off extremely slow. We had a call with our banks and credit unions from the region at about 3 o'clock, and some of them reporting that they were only able to process 3 to 4 applications, 2 to 4 applications, because the computer system was just jammed up. But I got a report last night at midnight from a couple of them. I asked them to check in with me, and by midnight that had gone up to about 30 to 35 applications submitted for the rest of the day. So there are signs that the program is starting to get still overwhelmed, but going in the right direction. Let's put it that way. So we're here to help, and we just got to keep on this. We got to keep blocking and tackling. Some days I get home from the office about midnight, and I'm like, I don't know if we can do it, but then I'm reminded of why we do it. It's the people. It's the people out there we represent, and we're back at it. We were up this morning at 5 o'clock and rolling up our sleeves, getting back to it, and now talking to you. So we'll just keep doing it, and that's what my job is. That's what I fundamentally believe is the mission, is to take care of the people we care about, and that's everybody of this area.
Congressman Reed, about how many people do you have working at your office, and how many are devoted right now to purely working on COVID-19 issues?
No, all of them. So, we have approximately 20 employees, include the part-times and things like that, and every single one of them. When this started 60 days ago, we got the team together virtually, and they said, look, our number one mission is to take care of the district. Let the other stuff, let the national stuff, let the campaign stuff, deprioritize it. Folks have to do that job, the other jobs there, and we've kept an eye on that. But the top priority is the district and the region, because you got to remember, as we've talked before, I look at it as a whole. There's no congressional lines that stop this virus, and I've been talking to the folks, the hospitals from Buffalo to Rochester, Jamestown to Binghamton, and everything in between. And there's a district there that doesn't have a member of Congress, and so we've worked with those counties and those areas also. And so it is nonstop, and that's what we're up for. And our team, I got to just tell you, they're working their tail off, and that's what we started, and that's what we'll continue. And when we reopen and get back to some semblance of new normal, maybe we'll adjust. But right now, it's all hands on deck to take care of the district and the impact of the virus, not just healthcare-wise, but also economically. This virus has caused an economic devastation in our area that is real. And I don't think people realize, and even elected officials, local officials, the numbers I get briefed on are staggering of what this looks like for the future. And the best antidote to that future, in a positive way, is doing the work now, doing the infrastructure now, so that we reopen as quick as possible, because the power of the economy, the power of the people engaging back into work and getting a paycheck directly from their work at their place of employment, that is the true antidote to this. And the sooner you can start that, the sooner we can get out of the devastation that's projected on the other end.
Congressman, you talked about how all 20 of your employees are just working on COVID-19 related issues. If somebody was listening to this show right now, and let's say they were unemployed, or an independent contractor having some difficulties, or a small business owner, what number would be better for them to call? A Washington number or one of the local offices, maybe the office in Corning?
Yeah, no, the best way to do it is go to read.house.gov. That's online, read.house.gov, and you'll see a set of numbers there. And any of those numbers will get to the office in your area, but read.house.gov is the best way to get that information. And also you got email there, and then also you can always obviously call the offices, and all the numbers are right there.
Now, you referenced earlier that you were helping out one of the districts that does not have a congressman now. I'm guessing that's the Congressman Chris Collins' district, which is as close as Dansville, I think. Is that what your office is helping out on these days, in addition to your regular constituent work here?
Yeah, no, that's exactly the district. And I will tell you, we also have a good relationship with Brian Higgins, Joe Morelli. Those are the Buffalo, Rochester. Talked to Joe yesterday, and also Anthony Brindisi and John Cackle in the Syracuse area. And so Chris Collins obviously doesn't have a member. That district is vacant right now. So we've kind of stepped up there and done a lot of work in that area. But, yeah, and, I should remember, I can give you a number because it will roll over. Talking to folks. So the number for folks here, if you want to take a pen or if you want to put it down, or, Brian, we can send it over to you. I don't know if you have
Sure.
a website you could put it up, but it's 607-654-7566. That's area code, obviously, 607-654-7566. So if you do that number, it will roll to the person that is most likely there to help you, and we'll go from there. But read.house.gov has a ton of information too, because that's one thing we did in our initial kickoff, is we wanted to make sure people had access to a kind of one-stop shop of information, and it's all primary sourced information. What that means is essentially there's summaries and there's some high-level data there, and information there. But what primary source means is we link you to the actual program that may be helpful to you, like the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. That's the Direct Small Business Administration Program. There's the unemployment information, and there's some links to, I believe, to the state offices there. So we tried to link people right to the direct information that's the most accurate information, and it's primarily sourced. It's put out by the sponsors that are responsible for that program, that information, that type of information.
Speaking with Congressman Tom, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll get back and discuss some other issues going on in both New York State and Washington. Stay with us.
The Ryan Agencies, your local, independent insurance agencies. The Ryan Agency employs 15 of your friends and neighbors. They live, shop, and support our community. When you buy insurance from the Ryan Agency, you support local families. Contact the Ryan Agencies today, your local source for all things insurance.
Insurance protection you can rely on. The Ryan Agency.
Hungry for something different? Go to this website, getlocaltakeout.com, for a list of restaurants still offering takeout in our area. Getlocaltakeout.com is brought to you in support of local restaurants by the Ryan Agencies and mysticmedia.com.
Back live with Congressman Tom Reed here on Newsmaker. Congressman Reed, wanted to get your take on this, your thoughts on Governor Andrew Cuomo canceling the presidential primary and some of the other elections in New York State.
Well, obviously there's some real concerns there. I've been reading the public reports about the Bernie Sanders supporters, for example, that are quite upset with canceling the presidential primary. I guess, obviously because of the news about Joe Biden and the issues that many of Bernie Sanders supporters are upset with, the sexual assault claims against the vice president, and see that they should have a right to be on the ballot. But, I'll defer to Andrew Cuomo about that. But when you start canceling elections, and that's very problematic. Democracy itself is fundamental in the sense of having elections, of having people being able to express their vote. Remember, we're governed by the people. We're not governed by officials. And so, at the end of the day. So, that to me is troublesome, but I'll defer to the governor to answer why he canceled those elections, and let's get back to some semblance of democracy. I think we can do it. I think we can do it in a way that we're used to. I think we're getting very accustomed to social distancing, and we voted on the floor of the House in a way that was historic just last week to pass that Paycheck Protection Program extension, and there's ways you could do that. I mean, there's ways you can accomplish that, and so you can have people control the voting area so that people have to wear masks and separate as they go through. And so I think there's ways to do it. It's just cancellation is something we should avoid, in my opinion.
Congressman Reed, this task force that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi wants to create to make sure that the stimulus money gets spent properly, you're on the House Ways and Means Committee. Would you be a part of that effort that House Speaker Pelosi is putting together, this task force?
Yeah, this task force is, they refer to it as the Benghazi equivalent type of task force. Well, first, you got to keep this in mind. There's like 6 already established oversight task force committees that are up and running. The committees have their own oversight responsibility. We sit on the oversight task force of Ways and Means to do our own oversight of the IRS and the other agencies that are subject to our review. So we already have that role. We already do that role. Concern that this task force, right in the middle of the crisis, Benghazi was, and this is why they call it the Benghazi task force, is they were essentially trying to equate the two and saying this is, that type of investigation of the president and making sure the president's held in check. And I appreciate that responsibility, but in the middle of a crisis, there'll be plenty of time after the crisis is over. That means the virus plus the economic crisis. Then you can have like these oversight joint select committees that delve into what was the decision made, why was the decision made, what were the pros and cons of that, what motivated those decisions, and most important, what can you learn from it? That type of oversight post-crisis, I'm interested in serving on. This one, probably don't anticipate being selected by the Speaker to be put on that committee, nor am I real interested in the middle of the crisis using that precious time and resource that could go to the people of the district and the region. I'd rather focus my priority there and really do the nuts and bolts, blocking and tackling of actually helping people in real time get through this crisis.
On the topic of distractions during a crisis, if I can put it that way, is there still talk from either Congressman Nadler or Schiff about impeachment lately?
Not lately. It's been quiet on that front, but I could bet if I took the time, and I'm not going to, because again, I just want to focus on helping people get through this situation. But I am pretty confident that if you did some searches and you did some research, and those individual members were pressed, I'm sure they're looking at impeachment. They're very interested in pursuing that, watching them prior to the COVID-19 situation, and it's a shame, and it shows you, as I said before, this impeachment was motivated by politics at its worst, and it was about overturning a duly held election in 2016. We got election in 2020. It's right around the corner. And one of the concerns I have, Brian, as we get closer to that election is I'm starting to see partisan politics, and we've done such a great job in the Problem Solvers Caucus and others to be utilized as a force to keep people together. If you look at phase 1, 2, 3, and 3.5, huge bipartisan vote tallies, huge bipartisan support for what we've done. I hope we can continue that into phase 4, but I can just tell you I'm starting to see cracks in that bipartisan effort, and I'm starting to see people put politics over people, as opposed to before it was people over politics, and that's a shame, and we need to fight it. But they're getting closer and closer to a presidential election here in November, and I think the battles of Washington, where it's all about who's in power, who has control, rather than focusing about what you're going to do with that power, and when you do have that power, using that power to run through the tape to help people and do what you said you were going to do. That's the environment I think we're going into, and I just hope we can avoid it as much as possible. We'll try to do our part, but yeah, impeachment is out there, I'm sure, and people are probably now going to transition, though, if they're of that school of thought, they're probably just going to transition into let's fight the presidential battle and use the people in the middle of it as pawns, and to me, that is so dangerous. And you saw a little bit of that in 3.5. Took a week to replenish that Paycheck Protection Program when everybody knew what we had to do. Everybody knew what the agreement would have been to make sure that didn't stop. But for 7 days, they put millions of American people in harm's way. And I can tell you, I just shared you with the story I believe last time that we heard a report that of an individual who was a fifth-generation farmer who killed himself because he was anticipating relief under the Paycheck Protection Program, but because of the shenanigans, he was obviously dealing with other issues to begin with, but it put him over the top. It put him over the top because he thought he was going to lose his farm. And you know how proud we are as people here. Losing your multi-generational farm, losing that property which you worked so hard to keep in your family for so long, and then you're the one who loses it. I understand where that individual is coming from, and shame on the partisan politics for delaying it 7 days. I talk to my colleagues who are advocating, well, we got to do this, we got to do that. It's okay to delay it. It's just a little bit of time. I'm like, these are real people. Have you talked to them? And they're like, well, no, I don't talk to them. I let my staff talk to them. And I'm like, yeah, that's appalling. You should actually listen to them. You should get on the phone with them. You should talk to them. You should hold Zoom meetings. Look them in the eye as best you can. Hold them, as I did. I broke social distancing during this time. I'll be one to admit it. I've helped individuals lost their business, crying in my arms because they couldn't see a way out of it. I saw people like that all day long. And I don't mean to get on my pulpit, Brian, but...
No, this is a difficult time.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And the problem is the more elected officials lose contact with those people they represent, the less they're doing the people's work, and they're just engaging in politics.
The last couple of minutes here with Congressman Tom Reed. When we have Hornell Mayor John Buckley on, he always talks about the importance of local city halls, village halls, and town halls getting some of that stimulus money too, because of the difficult economic time we're in with the shutdowns going on. Have you been in touch with Mayor Buckley on that issue lately, Congressman Reed?
Oh, yeah, no, and we've been working nationally. This is one national priority I've been on for about 3 to 4 weeks since Phase 2. I was involved in this, and I am very much committed to getting local aid, direct local aid, and making sure our state governors cannot reach in and take out the pockets, the money that they're committed to give to our local governments in their state budgets. When those local governments get that direct federal aid, we're going to make sure that happens. I'm not opposed to state aid, and I'm very sensitive to making sure that we don't use the pre-COVID-19 budget deficits in a way that they try to pad over those pre-COVID-19 budget deficits with assistance from the federal government to the states to get them through those problems. So we can work that through. We can work that out. I was glad to see, and I'll just take a little credit. Did do my part, I guess, if you would, to get the president to tweet out his support for local and state aid. I was glad to see that go out, and I thank the president for that. And I also worked with Pelosi and Schumer, and in the sense of the agreement they came to during 3.5 negotiations as to the revised CDBG formula that would result in more money getting to our local governments under the traditional existing structures. Issued a press release on that last Sunday. That's good stuff. That's people working together to try to come up with a solution that will work. So I give credit where credit's due, and got some work left to do in the Senate, but even working with Mitch McConnell's team, and you're starting to see, you got a lot of the state bankruptcy issue statement, which I'm opposed to. But there's a path here, and we just got to land this plane, and we're working together to get it done.
Congressman Tom Reed, he gave out his phone number earlier, 607-654-7566, for any small businesses or anyone who needs help. Congressman Reed, thank you so much for coming on. Sounds like you're putting in a long day these days.
No, that's what the job is, especially during these times, and just want people to be safe, know we're with them, and together, standing together, we're going to get through this. We're going to make it. We're going to be fine, but it's going to take a little bit of an effort. But, Brian, you keep doing your job. You do a great job at it, and just keep people informed, and let's just keep working forward.
Congressman Tom Reed, it's always great having you on, and hope to have you on again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Brian. Take care now. Be safe, everyone.
Thank you so much. We're joining Fox News' Dr. Ostrower coming up in just a moment.